So, boys, we are back for part 2 of Wendigoon proving JFK's assassination and conspiracy theory on a whiteboard. Make sure to check out part 1. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of our content. 2 music reactions a week. 2 episodes of a history reaction a week. A podcast plus shorts. God damn it, we're fucking doing it all. Make sure to click subscribe. Check out our fucking sponsors, Swifty Hemp Co., Gfuel. Their links are down in the description along with the codes to use for them. But we're going to hop right into this because I know most of you guys are already here from the first video. So, see, we're still in the same fucking place. Let's go, Wendy.
And that's the best part. The day after they used that other film footage to determine that there was a second shooter, it all disappeared overnight.
I wonder why.
From a CIA lockup, to which they said that someone probably stole it, along with all the other evidence that proved that something was wrong with this picture. Despite that, once the committee had finished their whole proceedings, this is the official statement they gave in the end. The committee believes, on the basis of the evidence available to it, that President John F. Kennedy was probably assassinated as the result of a conspiracy. The committee is unable to identify the other gunmen or the extent of the conspiracy. That is a government organization coming together and saying, yeah, something definitely weird happened. So we know that something was up, but what makes me think it's a CIA? Well, this is a whole other rabbit hole to go down, but John F. Kennedy was in big support of the CIA until a little thing called the Bay of Pigs happened. He was very upset with them after the fact and supposedly said to the White House Staff Committee, if it was up to me, I would take the CIA, break them into 1,000 pieces, and throw them into the wind. The CIA obviously didn't like that, and for those who know anything about them, they have a tendency to start to follow their own directive when president or states heads don't agree with it. I mean, for evidence, just look at like the 60s drug crisis or sending guns to South America, but we won't talk about that. Anyway.
There's another big part of this too. Is and I don't know if he goes into this. This is the first time that I'm watching this video. Is there is a 1-to-1 link. I think it's like a month and a half. He does this speech in Washington about secret societies, openly talking about how the CIA and the FBI are a part of a secret cabal that kind of control and impact the way that we live every day-to-day life. And when they're not agreed upon, they kind of go off and do whatever they feel like. As he was just arcing back to. I wonder what that really was from. I don't know. I don't know, man. Wendy, you're not talking.
Or sending guns to South America, but we won't talk about that. Anyway, so going with this idea that John F. Kennedy was going to do something about the CIA, if not expose them for what they have already done, it stands to reason they want to do something about it. Also, keep in mind an interview that JFK did a couple months before the shooting. He said that there were scary things happening in U.S. politics and that there were secret societies planning to take over democracy and government systems, and yeah. So we have the motive, but what about the evidence? As I've already mentioned, the
on
CIA
both sides, not just one.
Lost all the data the day after it was used in court to prove that this guy was actually there. Aside from that, at the least, their handling of John F. Kennedy's motorcade was hilariously bad. For example, they plotted out the map that John F. Kennedy would follow, and they determined that there were 20,000 open windows that the car drove by, and that there were so many windows that they just shouldn't cover any of them, which has got to be the worst compromise I've ever heard. It's like, man, there's a lot of windows. We're going to have to do a lot of work.
Nope. Not going to do the work.
Also, keep in mind what I mentioned earlier, Greer and O'Connery, the 2 CIA agents who were in the front of the car. As soon as the first shot rang out, Greer did not try to run away or drive away or anything else that's standard of CIA training. He brought the car down to a 7-mile-an-hour speed and him and O'Connery hunched forward and put their shoulders up. It's so weird that Jackie Kennedy even came out afterwards and said he was behaving extremely oddly during the whole thing. To adequately explain the rest of this, I need to bring in another character, the Umbrella Man. The Umbrella Man has become a famous figure in all the theories surrounding JFK, and there's good reason for it. In the middle of a sunny day in Dallas, right as the president's murdered, you can see a man in the Zapruder film who is holding up an umbrella in front of the motorcade. Not only that, but he is standing directly in front of the position Lee Harvey Oswald was in front of, and as he's standing there, JFK passes by, to which he lifts his umbrella, and immediately the first shots ring out. If that is not a man on the ground either signaling that it's the motorcade,
that is 100% a signal.
fire,
yes.
I don't know what is. To top it off, immediately after JFK died, there are pictures of this guy simply shutting his umbrella and setting down at the curb. Keep in mind, everyone else is freaking out, running around, screaming, and this guy just is like, well, yep.
There's also pictures of George H.W. Bush standing in front of the school book depository on the day JFK was shot. That supposedly he was nowhere to be found, and nobody has any idea where he was during the 60s, but possibly on an oil rig. Nope, he was in Dallas. That's where this shit gets sketchy. That's where this shit gets really fucking fishy. There's a lot of people that play into this possibility of things, but so many people want to sit here and focus on one little part or say that everything else is a conspiracy because the original story and the main story doesn't fit it. There is a lot of levels of thought here. Them slowing down and hunching over shows that they're not waiting to fight back. They're not getting to safety and waiting to fight another day. They're sitting there and making sure something happens. It also proves the whole thing of forcing the people to get off the back of the car at the beginning of the motorcade trip. Also opening up the roof and everything else. There's a lot of individual things that are affected in this situation.
Don't know what is. To top it off, immediately after JFK died, there are pictures of this guy simply shutting his umbrella and setting down at the curb. Keep in mind, everyone else is freaking out, running around, screaming, and this guy just is like, well, yep. During the House Select Committee on Assassinations, they were trying to figure out about this guy because obviously that's very weird and someone should probably figure out what happened here. To which the CIA brought in a man wearing a suit, holding an umbrella. The man walks into the court and goes, I am the Umbrella Man, and this is that umbrella. And the judge went, seems all right to me. There was no double check. There was no follow-up.
Nothing.
They're like, that man has an umbrella. He's got my vote. There's also
no man ever carries an umbrella. It's all good.
Was a former CIA agent. However, I couldn't find anything concrete on that, so I'm going to let that part slide. But it's weird either way. Also, in 1966, they tried to reevaluate JFK's autopsy, and his brain was missing. Like, after the initial autopsy, they took the brain out and preserved it, and no one's been able to find it since. So
I think it's in Futurama.
I make it that what you will. I have no idea why they would do that.
Zombies.
Also, the initial Warren Commission, which was the first one that happened immediately after this, that determined that Lee Harvey Oswald was the only shooter and he acted alone, was made almost entirely up of CIA members who, as it was proved later, suppressed information. There's a few things I want to disprove really quick to kind of emphasize this point. For one of the main theories that is prevailing through all this is that the mob did it, and while I'm sure the mob hated JFK, I don't see why a mob murder would be covered up to the degree that this was obviously and proven to be covered up by the CIA. Like, if the mob...
I think if the mob is involved, and I'm going to stop in between each one of his theories, if it annoys you, I'm sorry. If the mob was a part of this, it is entirely by the CIA bringing them in to do this. So that way their hands were a bit cleaner, which is why you see Jack Ruby being a mob member as well. And that kind of like dirtying the ties of those two organizations as a whole. You see people like, not Falcone, that is Gotham. You see Capone go down for things like tax evasion not murder, not anything else. It's just tax evasion. Isn't it weird? Don't you start seeing the ties together here? Especially when Chicago was one of the places that JFK won that he wasn't supposed to and was strung up by the mob.
It was proved later. Suppressed information. There's a few things I want to disprove really quick to kind of emphasize this point. For one of the main theories that is prevailing through all this is that the mob did it. And while I'm sure the mob hated JFK, I don't see why a mob murder would be covered up to the degree that this was obviously and proven to be covered up by the CIA. Like, if the mob killed JFK, and assuming the CIA wants him dead, that's the perfect write-off. They could just say, yep, mob did it. That's cool, rather than having to do all the shady tactics around it. A lot of people also point to Jack Ruby, the man who ran up and shot Lee Harvey Oswald, as being for the mob because his family debts were paid off. But you know who else would probably pay off family debts? I'll give you a hint, it starts with CIA. The other
Introducing glass office chair mats by...
Well, that's the point. Is like, there is... None of these guys are fucking vigilant people.
KGB did it. Obviously, that is the initial idea because, again, Lee Harvey Oswald was proven to have Russian ties. But, one, if Russia did do it, they wouldn't get someone who had ties to Russia to do it. Duh. And two,
It would have been a Cuban.
the CIA wouldn't cover it up if Russia did it. I also want to say the whole theory about the babushka lady, which was a lady who was wearing a babushka, who, kind of similar to the Umbrella Man, just walked around and didn't really do anything after JFK was murdered. I don't really see how that could be related to anything. She wasn't brought up later. I think she was just an old woman who was there and saw all of this play out. I also want to go another level deeper with this. There was a guy working at the CIA whose name rhymes with Gorge, H-double-oo,
Called it.
Mush. Gorge Mush, that's what we'll call him. Gorge Mush was one of the people put over this whole motorcade route and one of the people elected to keep the president safe. So much so that he was in Dallas on the day that this all happened. So keep in mind, he failed his job harder than anyone can possibly fail. His job was to make sure nothing happens to this guy, and he got shot at least twice. Not long after this happened, that man was promoted to director of the CIA, and then
became president.
another position. Not only that, but when Gorge Mush was asked years later about where he was on the day of Kennedy's death, he said, I don't remember. You were in Dallas. All of it from head to toe reeks. There's absolutely no way that you could convince me or anyone else who thinks about it sensibly that
and to me, George Mush, 110%, there is very, 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 very small chances that there is Mr. Umbrella Guy standing underneath Lee Harvey Oswald's location, George Bush standing back here by the fucking door underneath the same fucking location. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? What genuinely are you talking about? Do you not understand that there might be one illogical connection, but not more than that? Like, the fuck? Go back to George Mush.
I don't remember. You were in Dallas. All of it from head to toe reeks. There's absolutely no way that you could convince me or anyone else who thinks about it sensibly that Lee Harvey Oswald was just a crazy dude who acted alone. It is in my firm and honest opinion, as the opinion of many others, that the agencies and powers that be wanted this man dead. And while I do believe they used Lee Harvey Oswald as part of it, he in no way acted alone and he in no way acted on his own agency. But we'll never know, because the only guy publicly who would know, this one, got shot by a random man whose family debts were paid off before he died 4 months later. So we have the motive, we have the method, and we have the evidence. In my opinion, they're absolutely guilty, and even not of this, some other stuff. Also, just as a side note, a bunch of people are worked up over Texas Red's identity, who that could be. There's a lot of theories about it. Obviously, we'll probably never know for sure. But from everything that I've read, there was several CIA works with Cuban guerrilla fighters who were being trained by the CIA for whatever after the
Bay of Pigs and things like
and
that.
Most of the evidence points to certain Cuban marksman in Dallas that day. So probably either way, it doesn't matter, because just like Lee Harvey Oswald, they were a gun one way about it. If Lee Harvey Oswald got caught, which he did, oh look, Russia did it. And if a Cuban guerrilla fighter got caught, oh look, Cuba did it. Either way, the people who really did it wash their hands of the situation and get a walk away. I should also mention, before anyone decides that I am a threat for this, this is a joke. It's all a joke. This is post-irony humor. This is entirely educational. I believe none of it, and you should believe none of it, and everything is a joke. So, tomato, potato. Anyway, now that we're done with all the jokes, thank you all for watching. This is something, again, that I just decided to do spur of the moment.
Well, thank you, wendigoon, for teaching us something. Honestly, exploring the way other people think and the other way people see things is one of the most important things as people we could do. It shouldn't have to be portrayed as a joke or satire or whatever, just for you to feel safe and comfortable. All of this was a joke, but at the same time, explore your fucking mind, explore everybody else's mind, because a lot of the time, even when people sound crazy, there's logic to the madness. It might be their crazy fucked up logic, but there's logic somewhere. And we'll see you fucking next time. Make sure to check out Swifty Hemco on Gfuel and subscribe if you didn't fucking subscribe already. Come on, peace out.